just gonna start over. Ugh. Welcome back, everybody. It's mtga, and today we were playing Golgari counters in Standard. So this was suggested by a viewer, and what we're trying to do is place counters on our creatures via playing kick spells with Vine Gecko, or creatures that put counters on themselves, and then have some enablers to close out the game. So to break down into our counters creatures, what we were playing are 4 copies of Skyclave Shade. This does not come in counters on its own unless you kick it, but we can also kick it from our graveyard, and it's a recurable threat, so this is really good for our deck. Gnarlid Colony is a 2-mana 2/2, just a bear, but if we kick it, it comes in as a 4/4, and each creature with counters gets trample. So this is going to be a way to give all of our creatures, this is like a lord essentially at a common level, so this is actually really strong for what it is. We're playing 2 copies of Scavenging Ooze. This is going to exile stuff from our opponent's graveyard, and it places counters on itself. We're also playing a few in the sideboard, so there's something to keep track of. We have 4 copies of Vine Gecko. Whenever we play any kick spell, we get to put a counter on it, and all of our kick spells cost 1 less to cast. We are playing a decent amount of kick spells, so we can actually take advantage of this. We're playing 3 copies of Grakmaw. Comes in with 3 counters, and then whenever a creature with a counter dies, we get to put a counter on it, and then when Grakmaw dies, you create an XX Hydra equal to the number of counters that were on him, where X is his power, essentially. We have 2 copies of Skyclave Shadowcat. This is going to make it so whenever our creatures with counters die, we get to draw a card. Plus, we can sacrifice creatures to put counters on this. So if our opponent targets creatures other than this, we can, like, sacrifice it so we at least get some value out of it. Plus, we're gonna be able to draw cards and find more resources. We're playing 2 copies of Polychronos. This is going to be able to come in with 6 counters, or 12 if we escape it from our graveyard. So this is just a huge threat in the late game. And with Gnarlid Colony, this having trample as a 12/12 is really good. And then to get into the kicked spells, we have 4 copies of Bloodchief's Thirst to deal with our opponent's creatures and planeswalkers. Has kicker. Skyclave Shade has kicker itself. Gnarlid Colony has kicker itself. Inscription of Abundance places counters on our creatures. We gain X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures we control, and we can have creatures fight. And this is the cheapest kick spell, and it's at instant speed, so it's really good. Like, out of the inscriptions, this is probably like the best in the cycle. Why do I keep losing service? Then we're playing 1 copy of Balagad Recovery to be able to buy back stuff. We're playing 4 copies of Scale the Heights to be able to put a counter on our creature, gain some life, draw a card, and play an additional life, or play an additional land. This is a lot of value for 3 mana, and it's really good for what we're trying to do in our deck, so we're playing all 4 copies. Playing 1 copy of Agadeem's Awakening because we are playing a decent amount of creatures, all the way from 4 down to 2, so we can buy back up to 3 creatures with this. So for 6 mana, we get that effect. We don't want to see this often, which is why we're only playing 1 of, and we can use it as a land if we absolutely have to. Then we play 1 copy of Turn Timber Symbiosis. Same reason, we can find creatures off the top, but we're not really relying on this, so we're just playing the 1 of. And then we have 2 copies of Great Henge, because this is going to help us draw cards, place more counters on our creatures, and gain us some life and ramp a little bit. And that is the deck. In the mana base, we have a mix of basics, Castle Locthwains for draw, temples, triomes, and a couple of failed passages to help fuel the Polychronos and fix our mana base a little bit. In the sideboard, we have Cling to Dust and Scavenging Ooze for graveyard-based strategies, Kitesail Freebooters against control matchups, or any deck that's playing a lot of interaction, 4 copies of Destiny Spinner so our creatures can't be countered, and 3 copies of Heroic Intervention to give our permanents hexproof and indestructible. That is the deck. I'll leave a link down below in the description if you want to try it out. Please leave a like on today's video, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell, all that good stuff. Let's take this into the arena and see how we do with Golgari counters. Alright, so we're on the play, and 2 inscriptions is pretty good. A Bloodchief's Thirst is good, but we have pretty much nothing else. I mean, I could rely on drawing a creature. We are playing a lot of them. I could fetch the swamp, so we have the Castle Locthwain that'll come in untapped. We have double green. I mean, it's not terrible. As long as we draw into resources, we're not in terrible shape. We'll Fabled Passage, get the swamp, and pass it up. Alright, opponent decides to lead off the same way. I wonder if they're going to grab a swamp too. I would imagine we're playing against Grixis. Scale the Heights is pretty good too. Lets us draw a card, find some more resources. We can't use this for any reason, so we're just going to hold it up. Ooh, nice Bob Art Ross. Nice Bob Art Ross. It's my turn. Can't do anything with my mana. We'll pass it up. Take Scale the Heights. Submit 0 on the creature. Opponent could be holding up a counter spell. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, so it seems like we're up against Counterburn. I guess let's try playing our Vine Gecko. We have 2 mana. Opponent can't... Our opponent couldn't, like, quench it or anything like that. Bone Crusher Giant's good. We can put 2 counters on our Vine Gecko. Makes his Bone Crusher worse, and now he has to spend extra resources to kill this Vine Gecko, which is pretty good for us. Opponent's digging. They probably missed the land drop. Alright, so it's just Is It. Alright, so Bone Crusher is cool. We get to kick and kill this. Which we're okay with losing the 2 life. We get a counter on a Vine Gecko and put our opponent down to 15. And this is getting bigger, harder for them to deal with, so they have to bounce it. They might be playing Brazen Borrower as well. Yep. Now opponent's going to try to hold up the counter magic, which makes sense. Well, let's play the Vine Gecko again and see if our opponent tries to counter it. Nope, it lives. We'll pass it up. If they try to Bone Crusher it again, we'll just Inscription. Yep. Opponent's having a really hard time dealing with our creatures. Thanks. It's playing out the exact same way as it did last time. I'll hit our opponent with the nice. Come on, opponent, I got this all day, man. All day. Sprite Dragon's good. And Brazen Borrower's not bad either. So our opponent is establishing a clock. We drew into our 5th land. It comes in tapped, unfortunately. We'll play Scale the Heights, put a counter on our Vine Gecko. Play our Temple of Malady. This is good, but it's not necessary. And now let's just start getting in. Our opponent can't attack with the Sprite Dragon unless they play another creature or deal with our Vine Gecko. And if they don't deal with our Vine Gecko, alright, so that deals 5 damage. Or it deals another 3. Okay, so they didn't kick it. Nice. That works. We get hit for 6 and go down to 11. The opponent has one land open. We drew into another Vine Gecko, which is cool. 3/6 mana. We can't play Vine Gecko and kick. Oh, actually, yeah, we can. Oh, wait, what? Yes. Yes. Good. Good. So now our opponent's definitely going to be struggling because our creatures have trample. Alright, so Experimental Overload grabs them a Royal Eruption back, probably, to kill the Vine Gecko, I would imagine. Oh no, they grab Lofty Denial. It's an interesting selection. Okay, they already had a Royal Eruption. Makes sense. Opponent does not attack with their 5/5. We're drawing dead now. Not in good shape. Alright, well, let's cycle this, see what happens. Okay. We take 8 in the air. Yeah, we're just dead. Good game. Unfortunately, our opponent had just enough resources to deal with everything we played, as well as us, but we started to fall off with their flyers. It was still a good game though. We are on the play, and we have a pretty good mix of lands and spells to play, so I'm going to keep this. We'll say hello to our opponent, lead off with a temple. Scavenging is on the top I like. I'm not sure what we're up against, but just having a creature that can get big on its own is pretty good. It can maintain some graveyards if it matters. Pen grabs a forest. Let's start off with the Skyclave Shade, since even if they kill it, we can just keep recasting it over time. Ooh, Spikefield Hazard's a clean answer. So we're up against Gruul, potentially Jund, maybe. We might see some Black Splash in here as well. Yeah, I'll play the Skyclave Shade again. Play the Agadeem's Awakening tapped. Brushfire Elemental's okay. Found their lane drop. Fabled Passage is a good one. They get the Domas for 5. We do get to Inscription, and if we can find a way to... see, we need another land. We can play the Polychronos. Yeah, Polychronos doesn't seem bad here. Pay the 3 life. Get him for 3, and now our opponent has a 6/6 they have to worry about. Into the Triump's good. We found our 5th land, so we can kick the Inscription, which makes it better. Alright, let's go to combat first. See how our opponent wants to block. So, I can make the Polychronos fight the Lotus Cobra so they get pinched on mana a little bit. Or I can play Skyclave Shade or the Scavenging Ooze. I think getting rid of their mana acceleration is probably what's best. So we're just going to go ahead and fight the Cobra. Alright, Cultivate for our opponent. So, yeah, they would have gotten some mana. Now this turn they don't get anything really. Alright, 1 red source for our opponent. We can gain life, we don't need to fight, so we'll scale the heights, put the counter on the Polychronos. Bloodchief's Thirst is really good too. Now we can play our Scavenging Ooze, keep that set up for eating our opponent's graveyard. Now we're very close to having lethal. Scoop Swarm is really good. Right, Brushfire Elemental, did they also have a land drop? They sure did. Alright, our opponent was thinking, it seemed like. Whoops. We'll go ahead and Bloodchief's Thirst the Brushfire Elemental, since that's a cheap way of dealing with this. Target creature fights this. Grow and eat the Brushfire Elemental. And I actually could have Inscriptioned again, but it still wouldn't have been lethal regardless. So we'll just attack, force our opponent to make a bad chump. Play our lane for the turn, pass it up. Okay, Ancient Green Warden isn't bad, but still not going to keep you alive. So let's go ahead. Our opponent decided to scoop. I was going to eat the last creature in their graveyard and then put 2 counters and have it fight the Ancient Green Warden so we can attack with both of our creatures and win the game regardless. Good game, opponent. Alright, going into our last game, we get to go first, and this hand seems pretty good, so we're going to try it out. We'll lead off with the Indatha Triome since it comes in tap regardless. And then we can play either our Gnarled Colony or our Skyclave Shades. I think we're going to lead off with the Skyclave Shades just because, again, if our opponent has removal, we can just keep buying them back, so we're not really too concerned about it. Alright, Maze Mind Tome for our opponent. Well, let's go to attacks real quick. Put our opponent down to 18. And then we'll just play out our Agadeem's Awakening so we don't have to pay the life. And we'll play our second copy of Skyclave Shade. Now I kind of want to hold off on the Gnarled Colony because I have a suspicion that our opponent's playing an Extinction event. And all of our creatures are even. It'd be very easy for them to deal with these Skyclave Shades effectively forever. The rest of our opponent takes our Great Henge. Alright, Skyclave Shadowcat's pretty cool. So we'll play that. Opponent decides to draw a card with the Maze Mind Tome. We will attack for 6. Put them down to 12. Our opponent did not put a stop on their upkeep. I'll keep pointing this out every time I see it happen. Use those upkeeps for your scries, I'm telling you. Helps you find what you need. That's just my favorite use of the card anyway. Opponent Inscription of Ruins, effectively dealing with the last 2 creatures in her hand. This is cool. We'll put a counter on the Skyclave Shade. Draw a card. Scoos is a good hit. And our opponent's down to 2, so they're in a lot of trouble. They need to find an Extinction event if they're playing it, or a Shatter the Sky. Oh, whatever it is, they found it. This could also be cast out. Yep. Or cast off, I mean. Yeah. That's fine. We get to draw a card. Crackmaw's another good hit. A land off the top would be really, really good for us. Ooh, you love to see it. You love to see it. I still think I'm just going to play it out this way, though. Our opponent gets to gain 4 life. They're at a virtual 6. Our Skyclave Shades are okay, but they're still going to be here for whenever we find our other land drops. And we'll play out the Scavenging Ooze, putting enough pressure on our opponent's life total that they need to do something. Alright, they scry 1 to the bottom. So they were drawing blind, which is good. It's still 1 mana away from playing their Realm-Clicked Giant, so they have to have another board wipe in hand. Liliana's cool, deals with one of our creatures. Alright, they get rid of the Scavenging Ooze. Well, I mean, that's not a bad hit. We'll destroy the Liliana. Just get in for 3. Put our opponent back down to 3. Hopefully they don't find... Ah, they found their land drop. Damn. Their 7/7 is going to be a huge wall for us. Alright, well, let's discard that. Turn Timber, we're still a bit of a ways off. So we'll just play it tapped. Our opponent's going to make us discard it regardless. And we'll play out one of our Skyclave Shades. No attacks. Opponent needs to deal with creatures. Dang. Okay, so what's he go for? Alright, so we're back to the square Uno. He gets to beat us down for 7 because it has Vigilance and it can still block. Temple's not great. It's not the worst. At least we get to use it to get something. Scavenging Ooze is good for us. We will play our Skyclave Shade with Kicker. No attacks. Thankfully, these are both odd and even, so our opponent can't effectively deal with both. At least with the Extinction event. Legion Angel's not bad. It lets them find another copy out of their sideboard. Even if they had another land in play, though, they can't play it this turn. I'm just going to block with Crackmaw. Scavenging Ooze off the top. And I guess now we just have to pass. Hope our opponent tries to get greedy and attack with everything. If they play the other Legion Angel, then we're in a lot of trouble. We need to find a way to deal with one of their creatures. An Inscription off the top would be good. Yep, they found another copy of Legion Angel. Pretty good. My turn. I'm going to go ahead and start eating stuff. I'll eat it out of our graveyard. Even though our Polychronos is very much a thing to consider, at this point, I don't think we're worried about it. I'd rather just grow our Skoos. And the opponent will have to find a way to deal with our board state, because we will eventually get big enough that we can attack. Alright, Grakmaw off the top. It's not terrible. So, if we attack with everything, opponent probably blocks the Skoos with the 7/7, the Skyclave Shade with the 4/3, and the 3/3 with the 4/3, leaving behind the Realmcloak Giant. It's not super good. There's another Gnarlid Colony in our graveyard we can try to bluff. Our opponent might not think we have it. Yeah, I say we attack with everything. See how our opponent blocks. Yep. So we actually get to trade with the Realmcloak Giant, which is very relevant. We'll wipe their board and we get our Grakmaw. I could have played the Grakmaw first, which in hindsight was probably a better play. Yeah, I actually wish I did, because then I would have had a stronger Grakmaw. I'll just hit our opponent with the oops, because they'll probably know what I'm talking about. Alright, there's the last copy of Legion Angel, and they get to play both. It's pretty good. Another Grakmaw off the top. Alright, so we get to attack. Kill off one of their angels. These Grakmaws are great, honestly. It replacing itself, super good. Rambunctious Smut is pretty cool. They don't have any targets for it, which is good for us. That Bloodchief's Thirst is okay. There's the inscription. So we get to put 2 counters on this and have it fight something we don't control. So this becomes a 5/5. We can kill the angel and just leave behind the Rambunctious Smut. Okay, we're going to kick. So we're going to put the 2 counters here. Target player gains life. This is going to... Oh wait, whoops. I did the targeting wrong. Boop, 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 boop. Put 2 counters on a creature. This. Target player. Target a creature you control. Fights this angel. Yep. And now we'll just pass it up. Well, that's good. That's good for our opponent. Oh no, man, we're really gonna lose to an Ugin. Polychronos is good. So our opponent will have to -4 to get rid of this, unless they find another way of killing it, which hopefully they don't. Aetherios is good. In response... Wait, actually... It's on the end step. So in the beginning of the end step, in response to targeting, I'll just kill his Rambunctious Smut. Opponent's probably just going to plus the Ugin so they can keep the Ugin with the Aetherios. Yep, so they go for the -4. So I'll go ahead and fight this Rambunctious Smut. Bloodchief's Thirst off the top's not bad. If they draw into another Ugin or something, we can deal with it. This Aetherios might take over the game, though. Leonin Warleader is good, but we get to kill it before it creates a bunch of creatures. Nah, you suck. Come on. Why would that be your last card, though? Well, at least we get to buy this back. Opponent can't attack because he will lose. He will lose his defense. Do they have lifelink? They sure do. Even if he attacks. Alright, so Shadow the Sky is good. We get to draw a card. He gets his Leonin Warleader back. Castle is not bad for us. Scale of Heights. Go ahead and play. So we'll just keep doing this same deal. Well, we can draw a card with Castle, or we can just draw a card like this, which I think this is probably just better. We'll hold the land so we have a land drop for our Skyclave Shade. Okay, that's pretty good. So he gets his creatures, he gets the lifelink, and he's up to 5. Alright, we're drawing Sword of Dead here. Don't need another castle. Go ahead and play this kicked. And we can hold up the castle activation because we're not going to be able to use any mana afterwards. So that way our opponent can't interact with our hand. Yep, down to 12. Greyhinge is pretty good for us, actually. So we're going to go ahead and play that. Play out our Vine Gecko, gain some life back. We don't have another Skyclave Shade in the graveyard. Could try to draw a card. Let's play the Temple first and scry. Bloodchief's Thirst is really good. Get to draw a card. Now we have our Bloodchief's Thirst. We can't attack with both of our creatures yet. And our opponent gets their Leonin War Leader back. On the end step. Or every time it dies, they just get it back with their coin counters. So we just need to pass it up. Alright, opponent had a Bloodchief's Thirst. Which made sense. Down to exactly 0. Wow. Wow. That's a shame. Good game. Welcome back, everybody. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Unfortunately, we only went 1-2 today. That last game, so brutal at the end. Opponent with the exact lethal. Unbelievable. Regardless, the deck was a lot of fun. It performed the way I expected it to. The Skyclave Shade definitely put in a lot of work in that last game too, being a very nice recursive threat, and our opponent had to jump and trade with it constantly, so this was a nice way to effectively deal with his creatures, as well as having Grakmaw to just replace itself. Just made a lot of sense for the deck. I didn't play Moss Pit Skeleton because, honestly, I thought Skyclave Shade was probably just better for what the purpose was. Moss Pit Skeleton, when a creature you control with a counter dies, you can return it from your graveyard to the top of your library, and it's a 2-mana 3/1, or you can kick it so it gets counters, and it becomes a 4/4 altogether, I believe. It's like a 2/2, and it can become a 4/4 or like a 5/5. But this becomes a 5/3 at the cost of just playing a land drop and having 5 mana, and it to go straight into play. You don't have to draw it or put it on top of your library, which is why I chose this over the Moss Pit. The deck probably could have dealt with a little bit more removal, or like maybe some hand disruption might have helped, like some duress might have helped this deck, maybe some agonizing remorse in the main board. The Kite Self Rebooters were good. I was considering playing them in the main board, but they don't have any ways to put counters on themselves, so it's kind of irrelevant to the overall theme of the deck. But like I said, out of the sideboard, this deck gets a lot better against the matchups where it's super weak against. So definitely consider checking it out. It's a lot of fun. I'll leave a link down in the description down below if you want to check out the deck with the sideboard and everything for best of 3, import it into Arena and try it out yourselves. Leave a like on today's video if you liked it. Leave a comment down below if you have any suggestions, and join the Discord so you can come say hello and help brew some decks with me, like our fellow viewers, like Goblinoid, for example. He helped us brew this deck. He suggested a lot of cards for it, and most of this final result is due to help from him. So I mean, consider hopping in that Discord so we can all get together and brew some more decks together. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.